Today we will be making something very different and very simple. So if you would like to see what we're cooking, don't forget to stay tuned and watch the video until the end. So I will be using cabbage, shredded meat. I will also use rice, and you can use dry seasoning, dry spice, or also you can use homemade seasoning. So to start, I make sure to start with the oil. Now I'm putting some garlic into the oil, so just to add a little flavor to the food. And then I'm also using tomato paste. As you can see, I'm putting the tomato paste, and then I have to mix it up. Make sure everything is mixed up together, and also make sure the garlic turn into like a light brown color, because this is how you can add the flavor to the food. And also I make sure to lower the temperature because I don't want the temperature to be too hot. Now I'm adding some seasoning to it. I'm using sazon, and you can use your own depending on what you normally use. I don't put too much, just put enough. And now I'm adding some lemon pepper. If you don't have lemon pepper, you can add lemon juice. And then I'm adding some garlic powder. This is also what I use. However, you can use your own garlic. And now I'm adding red pepper, just because I like the taste of pepper on it. However, you don't have to use that. And you can also use fresh hot pepper. And I add a little bit of salt. Make sure you don't add too much salt to it. Then I mix up everything together. I also increase the temperature a little bit because it was a little low. I don't put it on high temperature because I don't want my meat to burn. All this seasoning I'm adding is just to add a little bit into the flavor. Now it's time to cover the meat to give it some time to cook. And we now adding some pepper. This is green pepper. I cut them into small pieces. And also now I'm adding some tomatoes. I also cut them into small pieces. but it's up to you how you like it. You can either cut them even bigger, but I prefer to cut them that way. And I mix them up together. Now I'm adding some onions. I also cut the onions in small tiny pieces, but you can cut your onion the way you like it. Now I'm adding this parsley. This is just to add to the flavor of the food. And this is the most important thing right now. I am adding the cabbage. I cut that cabbage into small pieces. So I make sure to add enough, and I don't add too much, because when it starts cooking, the cabbage will reduce in size. It look like it take the entire pot, but after it cook, it will reduce. So I make sure to cover it, and then I will let the cabbage cook all along with the meat. And I put the temperature not too high and not too low either, because if you put it too high, you might end up burn the meat that is in the bottom. So, and I put it mostly in between. And while the meat and the cabbage is cooking, I am now getting ready to make the rice. To start the rice, what I did, I put some oil, some olive oil, and when the oil is very hot, not very, very, very hot, when it's hot enough, I add some garlic. I add garlic, but however, you don't have to do it with garlic. You can also do it with like a little green onion. You can put it to fry into the oil just to increase the flavor of the rice. So after when it turned brown, when the garlic or the green onion, depend which one you use, turn like a little brown, I add some water, and I will let the water sit there until it start boiling. At the meantime, I go back to the meat, because just to make sure I mixed up the cabbage and the meat together. And then I cover the meat back, and then I go back to the rice. After I wash my rice and the water is well boiled, and now I'm adding the rice to the boiling water. Okay? One thing, one secret we have when we're cooking rice in my culture, we don't really measure the rice, like you said, to say we have that such a cup, that amount. And we know exactly how much we want. The most important thing is, when we're putting the rice into the hot water, we want to make sure we can see enough rice on top of the water. If you cannot see some of the rice like go on top over the water, you cannot see that. That means you put too much water. So this is how we make sure that we don't put too much water in the rice, and also we have to make sure we put enough water, because we want the rice to have a certain texture. And then this is mostly how we do it. And I could add the salt before, but however, I tried, I just add it now, since I didn't add the salt before. And after I add the salt, I make sure to taste the water to make sure it's not salty, and also it has enough salt. And then after I taste it, I realize I have enough salt for the rice, and I cover it. And then I lower the temperature of the rice, because if you don't lower the temperature, right now I put it at medium. If you don't lower the temperature, the bottom of the rice will burn. So make sure to cook it at a low temperature, not too low, but at a medium temperature. While the rice is cooking, so I go back to the meat. Now I'm turning it, and then I cover it back, and then now the rice is there's no more water into the rice. So now I'm removing the garlic that I fry into the oil to give some flavor to the rice. And then I'm turning the rice, the part that was in the bottom, I put it on top. When you're turning it, just to make sure the entire rice can cook. Because if you don't turn it that way, it might still cook, however the bottom might cook too much and the top might not cook enough. So when you turn the rice, so you give the top part the opportunity to cook also, and so you will have your entire rice taste mostly the same. You have the same texture for your entire rice, okay? And then after I do that, I cover it back and let it cook. After I cover the rice, I make sure to lower the temperature. That way the rice will not get burned.